All right, welcome everyone. Today we are doing this without the intro music just because I didn't prepare it. We are still new to the live streaming, so we are learning this as we go. And yeah, I can hear myself again because I have YouTube open on our channel. Now it's gone. Everything should be fine. So finally, one more time, welcome everyone to the channel. Today we have a special guest. We have a special guest who is potentially one of the best, if not the best, 40k pundits in Poland. 40k pundits in Poland. Yes, that's correct. Uh, Possibly on par with Typhus, although I dare say my guest is a better pundit than Typhus. Even he is the Polish event organizer. He is the selector of the Polish national team. And last but not least, he is the champion of the fucking world. I give you Pumba. Hi, dude.
Hello, man. Nice to be back. Nice to be back in such role.
In such
Thank you very much
circumstances,
for the thank you very much for the introduction because that was awesome.
I mean,
Yeah,
well deserved, well earned. It's great to have you. It's great to have you because there's just so much value in having you here. There's so much value in presenting you to the world, which again is the mission of the podcast, really. Because ever since we've created the podcast, we wanted to bring the Polish players, the Polish national team, to the world, to present the fact that Polish players are on par, if not better, than American players, English players, players from other parts of the world. And I think we started this, but you did the grande finale, so you did
I mean,
what was expected
along
from
with
you.
many other people, to be honest.
Obviously, yeah. So, okay, so just a couple of words of introduction before we go further. First of all, this will be a new formula. What we are doing today will be a new formula because this is going to be a two-parter. So something that you might have seen with other podcasts or with other services, we are going to try and do that here as well. So the first part that we are going to do now is with Pumba. We are going to talk about the Polish national team, their success, the WTC, and so on and so on. And then we will finish this part and we will go over to the second part, which is going to be for patrons only. So we will make it available on our Patreon, and this is going to go deeper into Pumba's Thousand Sons list and how he played this list, what the selection of the units and list building looked like, what the tactical assumptions were, and so on and so on. So our patrons will get to see that. As soon as it's done recording, I will upload it to our Patreon page, and then anyone else will be able to see it in about 2 weeks or maybe in a month. We will see. But yeah, but this will be exclusively for our patrons. So if you want to get access to that, if you like this idea and if you like what we do, head onto our Patreon page. I'll paste it in the chat in a moment, and yeah, become a patron because there's going to be a lot of value in that going forward. Plus, obviously, everything that is there already in our tiers, so some gadgets and stuff like that. So we will deliver all that to you. But from now on, probably there's going to be also some premium content, let's say, and Pumba will be the first one to do it. Also, I have already recorded the episode with Skak. That's it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes of content that I now need to transcribe, translate, and then re-record everything in English and do like a voiceover so that w- basically you can have access to that too because due to language barrier. I mean, Skark's English is perfectly fine when it comes to gaming and playing at the table, but when it comes to 2 hour interviews, he didn't feel confident enough. So we did it in Polish, and this will arrive somewhere midweek next week. So that's that. All right, Pumba, back to you. Uh, let's start with maybe this. Was Monday a difficult day for you? Were the celebrations so jovial, or not so much, and you are still planning the biggest celebrations?
Uh, Monday was very fun. Um, we were planning to leave back for our very long road trip back home around 8.
Hmm.
So we woke up around 10 or 11, as you do, after
Uh-huh.
partying at Bar Popular until 3.
Hmm.
I think the other host of this podcast can attest to that. That can happen.
Yeah,
Um,
rumor has it he's
well,
still traveling.
generally, no major issues. We just left late and had a time to like still meet up as a group, have a breakfast together with part of the team. Generally wind down. That was
Hmm.
pretty much an awesome day.
All right.
Uh,
That's cool. So how does it feel? Tell us this, because not everyone can say that they have become the champions of the world. What is the feeling like? What was it on Sunday when you won it? What was it on Monday when you woke up and found out that it's still true?
um, I had this complete. I think it felt so unreal to me, genuinely, that I don't think it hit, like genuinely hit, until I woke up in my own bed and it was
Hmm.
still real. Uh, Sunday, I just couldn't believe, like
Hmm.
legitimately. I think is very visible in my expressions and general um, aura of what I was doing when celebrating, when on stage, and etc. It just felt so unreal, and I just couldn't believe it. Monday, it slowly started to kick in, but I think it only actually settled down on Tuesday when I woke up in my own
Hmm.
bed back in Poland.
Right. I mean, on Sunday, definitely, I could sense, I could feel, or I could see that you were like 5 centimeters, floating 5 centimeters above the ground. Like that was
It
this special
kind of
moment.
really felt like it, yes.
Yeah. And then, I mean, so I can tell you about my perspective, because what I experienced was, I was there in the front row holding the camera, recording all the teams coming into the during the award ceremony, coming onto the stage when Neil called them out, and when you came out, everyone cheering, like it was mind blowing. The reaction of the crowd was mind blowing. I think everyone felt that it was well deserved, and then the entire crowd shouting "kurva, kurva," because that's probably the only Polish word that they could figure out is suitable for the occasion.
It's
That
a
was
catchphrase
amazing.
at this point.
Exactly. But then a couple of hours later in the evening, we all, like the entire event, ended up in Bar Popular in that square. And I remember, maybe it was just my impression, maybe I'm just imagining this, but we were sitting there with Nathan, with Nairi from New Zealand, with Alex Taus from New Zealand as well, just chatting. And then suddenly you, Team Poland, came out of like this narrow street out of nowhere, and like the entire square started chanting like Poland, Poland. You don't you don't get to see that twice in your lifetime. This is like
That
something
is very
mind
much
blowing.
true. That
Yeah.
was a bit surreal. Uh, a bit is a small word, to be honest. But yeah, that's exactly what happened, and it was especially funny because that was, I think, the first time we came to that bar. Who every team was like occupying every single
Hmm.
night, but we were just way too tired and way too into the mindset of just grinding to even go to the bar in the evening.
Yeah,
So that was the first time we've been there.
and then on top of that, I think there's like this rule of a thumb or unwritten tradition that if somebody drops a glass on the floor, everyone starts like going like
Oh no,
hey,
no,
but
no!
in your particular case, they actually started chanting your name because they knew
It
exactly
was
who
the
you are. So
worst. I hated it so much. It made me
like
so uncomfortable.
all attention, the entire square pointing fingers at you. That's something. Right. Okay. So did you start enjoying your success already? Like, do you? I mean, coming back to Poland, did congratulations come? Did people actually flock to you to say, "Hey, well done," and so on? Are people interested in this success, or is it just something
Yeah,
very,
like
very
legitimately,
limited?
I
Hmm.
have received just so many just private messages across every single medium from everywhere. Um, from like people that I know outside of 40K because they just saw someone or anyone in our friend group or an article or anything, um, so they congratulated me. Almost every single person I know from the Polish 40k and outside of Polish 40k scene just DM me, which was super nice. But by some time, if you were one of those people, by the way, if I just leave a heart emote there instead of thanking everybody, I'm very sorry. But it was just too many messages to answer back to, honestly. Um, so that definitely happened. Generally, the win,
Oh, I
we are
muted
winding
myself.
down.
I muted myself and I was speaking to myself. Is it true that a radio station reached out to you and wanted to do an interview with you as well?
Yes, a radio station, one of actually the major ones,
Ooh.
not like the huge one, but one
Mm-hmm.
of the actual good radio stations reached out to us because they heard of the success. And I think Skark and Meissen are doing an interview. Not sure about the logistics yet, but it's in person in Warsaw. So traveling from like Krakow or other parts of the um, Poland to
Yeah.
actually go to do an interview is suboptimal. So they will be around, so they will definitely manage.
Okay. All right. And then I also saw that some Polish websites, including like Donald.pl and so on, they also like wrote articles about that. That's quite uncommon, I think.
Right? I think it's kind of crazy. I think it also shows that this hobby and this scene is legitimately growing in a very um, interesting direction. Like 9 years ago, I think Typhus said it best. 9 years ago, there was no coverage. Nobody heard of 40k. Nobody heard
Hmm.
of WTC. The change, the scene is generally evolving in a rapid fashion, I feel like. And this year was very much special, I feel like, also because it was so visible. Last year, one of the biggest complaints everybody had was that the WTC happened and nobody saw it. Um, and this year was just the polar opposite of that. It was streamed across 5 languages. It was huge. Everybody saw what happened. Everybody saw games. Everybody was tracking scores with great commentators, with studio fucking coverage. It was amazing to see. And I think this year is like the breakthrough also for the WTC in general. I feel like it. I think this year has proven that it's very much televisable. Is that the word? It can be made a show, is what I mean, right? And I think this format supports it so much also, way more than, for example, single events. I feel like this kind of event just is such a show to watch that it can actually be made something special. And I think because of that visibility, and because the scene has grown so much, including every single event all across the world from like 9 years ago, that actual, as you've said, actual media are writing articles about our success and stuff, which is just crazy to me.
Hmm.
It
I
is
mean,
kind of.
it is an exciting time to be alive because if you take that into consideration, how the social media aspect of 40k has developed. By the way, my neighbors decided that is the perfect time for drilling, so I don't know if my mic picks this up. If it does, I'll
I
try to mute
cannot
myself.
hear that, so
Okay, then
hopefully
hopefully
nobody else
hopefully
can.
our listeners cannot hear that as well. So yeah, coming back to what I was saying, the social aspect and the content aspect of 40k has grown so much, and it's going to be even bigger. Because I mean, once I don't know, Space Marine 2, the game drops, it will probably attract some crowds. Henry Cavill apparently is involved with making some sort of series for Amazon or something like that. It is the time to be in the hobby right now because in a moment it will
Mhm.
explode. We will probably see a huge influx of new players, people simply interested in the game, and what a time to win an event like that with all the cameras actually directed specifically at you. So let's talk about the event then, because this is the essence of this, and this is why we met. Let's start with with the event itself. It was your second time, right? Last year was your first time. was this one different in any way? And let's not get into like the games and the fact that we won, but let's get into like maybe the organizational aspect, the preparation aspect. Did that differ in any way to the last year's event? Or, when you arrived, you entered the hall in Mechelen, it was, yeah, like I left it, and that's it, or no difference at all.
There were a couple of changes, and nothing major.
Hmm.
I actually think the last year ran very smoothly and was also an awesome event. Small differences like literally where the bar was and how it was managed, or the fact that uh, there were food trucks around, right? I think the biggest change from the perspective of actually playing the game was the setup of the tables, which was very unusual for us, and we were not expecting that. Um, just so you know, we have to anybody listening that who might not know, we have a team of 8 people, right? Mm, and then there is a pairing process involved before every single round, which determines which armies are actually playing each other. So the tables, instead of being set up in a row, which is what happened last year, mm, so you had a huge row of basically 9 tables, because there are 8 tables with terrain and that games are played on, and the last one is dedicated as a pairing table. So basically a place where captains do the pairings, or you can like leave stuff around during the round. Um, so what happened this year was, I think, a great idea of, instead of setting up those tables in huge rows of N9 tables, which were just insanely long, as you can imagine, they were set up as squares with 8 tables around on which the games are played on, and one pairing table in the very middle, which was amazing. Like legitimately, I think every single coach at that event, just because of the decision, has made like 5 kilometers less in walking. Because instead of going through from table one and consulting someone on table one, and then going to table eight to consult their game, or to have a whole picture of what's going on in the round, they had to just walk across like few meters, which was genuinely amazing. I think it made playing you just saw your teammates around, like legitimately you did. It was way easier to manage for the coaches, as I said, because you always had a coach basically at the pairings table right next to you. It was generally a great idea to set it up this way. It's a small change, but one that was very much visible when playing.
Yeah, I'll show you something. I don't know if we need to test this because I haven't tried this yet, but uh I got
Fine.
this from Ishik. It went dark, so I don't know if it's gonna work. It works on my screen. I'll try to upload it because, oh yeah, it works. So
It does.
no, it doesn't.
Yeah,
Uh,
sometimes.
yeah, it does work if I have it on my screen. It seems so.
Yeah.
Basically, what this Ishik, so one of the tournament organizers, set up a camera that was
Is that a
overseeing.
time lapse of a whole event?
Yes. So
Holy shit!
so I have like all the videos from all the days, starting from the first War Master day to the final day of the teams event. So you can see the time lapse of what it was like. And now this attests to to what you described. Basically, yeah, you can see me
That
walking
is
around somewhere in
awesome.
here in like a yellow shirt or something. But this is the setup. So here on the very left of the screen, next to the wall, you have all the streamers. This table to the left, if you look closely, there are some lamps over the table. This is the War Games Live table that was
Uh,
streaming games. And then all the other tables were gaming tables. That and the one that you were talking about, like preparation and so on. I think it's not here on the screen, right?
the preparation tables. What do you mean?
No, I mean
The
the tables that you discussed where the pairings were happening and so on.
uh, they definitely are in some places, but the first table, so the one that was streamed, was set up a little bit differently just because of the stream that
Oh, okay,
the
all
stream
right,
was on, right?
okay, that's fine.
So that's the only reason why here exactly you cannot see it clearly. But
Hmm.
in every single other table, like a table as a group of 9 tables, because
Hmm.
You had basically a grid of 3 by 3, right? A square with
Right.
the pairing table in the middle, which was
So to our
pretty great.
viewers, do let me know if you are interested to see that time lapse. I can upload it to YouTube. I think.
I am interested in seeing
All
that.
right.
I think that's awesome.
Okay. So essentially, I will upload them one by one to YouTube, and they will be available. People can have a look, and you can have a look as well at that. But all right, coming back to the event. So tell me this: last year you came second. So Team Poland came second. Uh, this year you have won, so this must mean that you are doing something right. And this year probably it felt that you just needed that final confirmation stamp that your formula, your methodology is correct. So let's delve into that a little bit. What is Team Poland's methodology? So what did your preparation look like? How many people did you bring? And maybe then we can delve into who you actually brought and what armies you have brought.
The Team Poland formula. It's a
Hmm.
difficult question to synthesize.
It's a loaded
Um,
question, yeah, definitely. So let's start with
I
your
think
condition
I
to
think
get
I have
people
an
onto the
idea
team.
of how to answer it
Oh
actually.
yeah, okay, go on.
Uh, I think there are three major parts. I think number one is dedication. I think it's the biggest one. I think the level of dedication that every single player, every single person involved in the team have shown uh, legitimately throughout those 2 years is unparalleled. I think people, and here I just need to take the opportunity to thank families of our players legitimately, because they must have been I don't have a family myself. This is one of the reasons I could be one of the persons responsible for the team commit, the selector, because I knew it's going to require a lot of time. But the dedication needed from every single player in our team and the sacrifices that they made throughout those years is just incredible to me. Their families must have been so supportive of their goal, of their ambition, and this is basically the I think that's the key. That's for me the number one reason why we did well those 2 years.
So let's pause here just for a second because you said dedication. I would probably call it engagement as well. That is all fine,
Mhm.
but when you say engagement and people listen to you, they say, "Well, big deal." Like every player on every team is probably engaged and dedicated to it. So, what does engagement Polish style mean? So, like I think in the Polish national team's podcast, you explained what this engagement actually means and what that it was one of the conditions to actually get onto the team. So can you give some examples of conditions of any players that did something special to get onto the team?
Traveling to participating in international screens. That's the
Hmm.
first one. That's what we usually start the season off of with. Um, Over the time they are first very open for everyone who wants to participate in such. Slowly in time, when the season progresses and the team must the deadline for selecting the team, let's call it that, like, the people that participate in those shrink to a select group. So that's the first one. um, they are quite a small like level of engagement, let's say, but still require you to set up. Sometimes when we are playing, I don't know, in USA, you need to figure out time zones and stuff. You actually need to play the game to figure out your list, which oftentimes we very much encourage very experimental lists into
Hmm.
those. Like we legitimately treat them as practice, as screams. We don't, of course, never disrespect our opponents in like trying to like sabotaging anything or like trying to underperform for any reason. That's never the case. But we do treat them as practice solely. So the win is not the number one priority for us. Often the times, or it's testing, it's testing new players and stuff.
Hmm.
So that's the number one thing. The second one is participating in events, just any events, say it Polish events and international events. I think at one point, um, going on through memory, like from half a year ago, but I think at one point we set a requirement for everybody who wants to be in the team to play at least, at the very least, I think it was 10 games a month that were documented in a way that it needs to be a TTS game that someone saw. It needs to be on a tournament, in a tournament. Basically, it needs to be a game that they couldn't just play in their garage with anyone. It must have been a game that actually um, evolved their own skill in some way, their own list in some way, for example.
And you create some sort of a record of that as well, right? So you can backtrack it. Hmm.
Um, Third one, a huge one, is going to international events this year, especially. That was a huge part of the process. And going to any international event for us is often time consuming, and it's
Hmm.
often time expensive. It's a you cannot get around it. We get sponsorships for like WTC and stuff, but all the other international events we pretty much pay out of our own pocket. We oftentimes don't go as Team Poland, right? We have our local teams, for example. I went to Bratislava with my local team. I went to Alpine with the Stadce crew and stuff. So that's of course normal, but it still requires dedication. We've had people like Victor, who was in the team this year, who made like, I want to say, 6 or 7 international
Hmm.
events just this year, which is insane, by the way. It's such a commitment of time and money, and I think it just benefited the team immensely. It was so visible. Like, just if we are on the topic, I think huge shout out to him because there was no other player in the team I feel like have progressed so much just this year. After he won the Polish National League last year, I think he was half a player that he is now.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say it like straight up. I think he has progressed the most from the team. He is also the newest player, of course. He has been playing 40K for like 2 years, I think.
Hmm.
So not very long compared to I don't know, Skark, who's been playing longer than I live. Um,
And also, he has
so
balls of steel because he won the league, which meant he automatically had the place in the national team. To which he said, "Hey, listen, no, I don't want to do it like that. I actually want to go through the proper selection like everyone else." So,
yep,
and he managed to get onto the team anyway, like
yep,
by proper selection. Which kudos to
yep,
him because that's, as I said, it's just balls of steel, but also well earned, as
yep.
you
I
described it.
mean, he put the incredible amounts of work in, and I think
Hmm.
he very much knew that he is the person. I think he pretty much knew that if he keeps the status at which he is progressing, his dedication, that he would be selected, and this is exactly what happened.
Hmm.
So, um, back to the topic. Uh, so I've talked about international events. I've talked about scrims. Actual discussions of lists is a big one.
Hmm.
It's it's one of the most difficult ones to achieve, but if you are competing in singles events, right? Sharing your newest list, for example, with people that you are going to be playing against, because if there are multiple national team members, for example, vowing for a singles title, they are bound to play each other
Hmm.
for that event. Um, and actually discussing list ideas and sharing them before such events, for example, to actually also learn to work as a team, let's say, to learn to discuss ideas in a manner that are not dismissive of someone's idea, for example. It's a huge part of it. It's also basically sacrificing sometimes your advantage if you are going for singles events. It
So,
has happened multiple times, for example.
I mean, it does boil down to team spirit basically, because you need to forget about your own potential successes or potential possibilities to win and sacrifice that so that the team can do better. So
Yeah, very much
yeah.
so.
Hmm.
Um, and the other one is just skill.
Obviously.
Like, uh, yeah, like the dedication goes on, only goes so far. The time required for testing, of course, is massive. Um, Especially this year when we had so little time to work on lists, to work on our ideas, to work on actually testing opponents list, which was crazy, and everybody from every team across the world, I think, can attest that testing just out their ideas with no preparation is just massively dangerous. It's a massive undertaking on everyone's part, and actually trying to figure out how the list plays. But I think what I'm impressed the most is just the skill of our players, and I have no fucking idea where it comes from. Um, it's I'm sorry, but it's just insane to me that we can face, and I can cat I can keep catching myself in this thought where like Gito or Victor or anyone in that team, a legitimately every single person who is doing this as a hobby. They've got a proper job, they have a family, and they are playing maybe if everything is like if they are on full fucking all cylinder mode, they're playing like 5 games a week, which is still a huge amount, but like comparatively to everybody else. But the fact that they can go toe to toe on a skill level with people that are doing this as a job, as they can spend legitimately 8 hours on 40K and then do another four as a hobby with that. And they can legitimately stand up to them in a fair game, mm,
And beat them.
on, on an equal level, or beat them. It's crazy to me. It's insane. It's
Yeah, I
insanity.
I listen. I think it was yesterday that I listened to the Best in Faction podcast, maybe, um, where they mentioned. I can't remember the name of the guy who said it, but he said that he is amazed by the fact that a country like Poland, which has a population smaller than California or comparable to California, wins an event, and in that it draws with a country that has like 300 million people, out of which uh, you could select anyone and everyone, uh, with all the sponsorships behind them and so on. I'm not, I'm not bashing on the United States at any moment, because they are an amazing team. They did an amazing job. They have fantastic players. We interviewed them for the studio as well, like Sean Naden, for example, who yesterday, a little spoiler, when I interviewed Skark named Sean Naden as one of the best players he has ever faced, uh,
Hmm.
at an
Can
event.
attest to that, by the way. Have played him.
Exactly,
Was fucking incredible.
exactly. So a country with very little sponsor backing, or like, an everyday basis, almost no backing, with a scene that is like, how many people do you get in events on average? 60 maybe tops,
Something.
usually fewer.
I think the limit of our scene is around 500 players. It used to be around 500 players attending all events across the year.
Yeah, across the year.
Yes.
So yeah, so this only shows. And then yeah, these people just appear. Those skilled people, those prodigies, they just pop up. But it takes that special kind of person like yourself, like Duda, like Myson, our three selectors, who are able to pick and choose, cherry pick the most talented ones, guide them. I think, people like Typhus as well, who help, who provide this leadership and guidance to those people so that they know which way to develop, etc., etc. Uh, this success had many fathers. Well, I said that in the
Mhm.
episode with Skark, and I'm going to repeat that now. Uh, Many fathers, many factors contributed. It's just insane and hard to.
If we are talking about our process and how it was,
Hmm.
how it's set up, and also talking about the fathers of our of this success, I feel just I cannot ever skip Typhus ever in that conversation because he is the grandfather of this success in the means that his process that he himself designed in much part last year, and he basically taught me everything I know about guiding an 8-man team to
Hmm.
success. what I did was basically take the same tools that he taught me and maybe refine them, maybe change them so they work for me exactly, but they were the same tools we've used last year. There were some differences, but mainly in team building, for example, and the fact that we had more coaches and stuff because we recognized what went wrong last year. But the whole process was basically set up by him, and I only executed. So he's the grandfather of the success. He's my mentor. He taught me everything I know about guiding this type of team, and huge thanks to him. He's definitely a huge, insane, enormous part of the success.
Yeah, he
And
is.
I think very much everybody in the team knows that.
Yeah, he's an inherent part of the community. Luckily for us, he's a friend of the podcast, so from time to time we will have him on. He is available on Enter the Matrix and Stat Check, and he is like um, part of that podcast. So if you don't know, if you haven't heard who Typhus is, go and check this out. He's a walking library of 40k knowledge, both in singles and teams. So yeah, absolutely one of the as we said, fathers of this success. So Pumba, you were one of the selectors. Can you again? We are the so Contact Loss is the outlet of the Polish community to the world. And I would like the people who are on the team to be shouted out and to become known in the world. I mean, most of them are up for grabs. I think if someone wants to form a team or if someone wants a coach or someone like that, most of them are not
Slowly
affiliated.
being picked up by doing.
Sorry, come again.
Slowly being picked up by other
Yeah,
various teams.
so yeah, so that's what I mean. So you need to be quick if you want to capitalize on them maybe still not being affiliated to someone. So if you, Pumba, if you could name all of them and maybe characterize them with one feature that made them members of the
Mhm.
team and so on, that would be great.
Yep. So let's start with Duda. Duda
Hmm.
has been to, I want to say seven. It might have been six. I'm not sure. I don't think he's sure exactly how many EDC/WTC he has attended, but he's been to plenty. That was his first win, which was massive. He's a legend of the community. He's one of the best players. Don't quote me on that. I think he's the only player to 20 Naden in a mirror. Um, so he's just a legend. Great painter, actually, absolutely beautiful. All of his models are absolutely beautiful. So he is a stellar man. Uh, Incredible amount of skills and experience, especially for his age, because we are basically the same age, and he's been playing like in 17 years or something. But
Hmm.
when he was a kid, he started.
So
Second one, let's go with
he was a,
Myson.
sorry, he was a captain, right? So he was like the decision maker. He was
Yes,
telling people when to push. He was
exactly.
essentially the backbone of the team. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. This year, his experience meant that had like the biggest weight that to make those crucial, sometimes absolutely crucial decisions to represent the team with all the captains to actually build up the team spirit for everybody.
Right.
Um, Myson, let's go with Myson next. Myson, the the best. It's so hard to choose, but the best player in Poland, possibly in terms of skill. Um,
Probably.
the person known as the Elder Slayer, who kept his reputation this year, 15-5, scoring a 15-5 against Swedish Elder, I think.
Hmm.
Um, Incredible player. Also, Michael Selexer, who has done an incredible job on the team as a whole, helping me with all the pairings, helping me to actually choose armies for us. Uh, Person who is also known internationally right now after attending LGT, and he's coming to LGT Invitational this very year as well. So watch out for him. He's going to crush that.
Yeah. By the way, I
Next
don't
up.
know if you know. I don't know if you know, but I think I can say that the idea to do what Zach is doing at the LGT this year,
Yeah.
I pitched that to him. So I said,
Let's
"Hey,
go.
it would be so cool to have maybe podcasters face each other in an event." And then what Zach did, he is doing the invitational with one part of the players being professionals, one part being like content creators and so on. And Contact Lost got invited as well. And as far as I know, Joker doesn't want to play. I still need to beat Vitalis to it, but potentially I might be playing in the Invitational if Vitalis doesn't
Let's
convince me otherwise.
fucking go.
It's gonna be amazing. But yeah, anyway, that was just a small plug. Go on, continue.
Um, Next up, let's go with Guido. Guido, who is the absolute monkey of the team. He's our mascot. He's the most positive person in the team. He is the sunlight of our
Uh,
trip to McLaren every single time. You always need to take care of him because he sometimes gets lost or just finds himself in peculiar situations. But generally, is also, and this is mainly because why he was in the team, but the other part is relevant as well. He also is probably the most meticulous player on the board that you have ever faced, and you are if you are up against him, you can be sure that every single move that he's doing on the table is very precise and incredibly relevant to what's going on. Very hard to face. Legitimately, playing against him feels like you are getting strangled by his just incredible precision. Um, and also the biggest Necron nerd on this planet. Don't at me. Uh, he is just so into Necrons that you would not believe. Knows every single piece of lore, and not only lore, every single unit he can wax poetics about.
and he
So
has
that's
like I
Guido.
don't know 4,500 points of Necrons sitting on his shelf. And last year it was his debut on the team, and I think he was like one of the top scorers of the entire event. So
Yes, he was the best. He was last year the top scorer of the entire Polish team. He was one of the top scorers in the entire event. Uh, Also, funny story about Guido's Necrons. Guido is pretty young. I think he's maybe a year younger than me. Um, Funny story about his Necrons. He actually doesn't have many of them.
the 4,500 that I spoke of, I thought I heard him say that in the
that's
Polish national team
that's
podcast.
that's still very much possible. That's the
Uh-huh.
amount. It also might mainly be from in chaff like warriors and fucking Indomitus boxes and stuff.
Fair enough. Okay.
Because every single event that Guido attends, he borrows at least half the army from anybody else. Mainly Blaine, who was actually our media guy who lives very close to me. One of the parts of the process of going to any team event where Guido is attending is me going to Blaine because we live like 1 kilometer from each other and grabbing models for Guido to bring him and then putting them back.
By the way, that's
So
good on the screen.
yep. So was the situation. He's a gem. He's awesome. Uh, next, let's
Let's move on.
let's move on. Exactly. Let's bring Leshu in. Leshu, who is also a veteran of the scene. I think it was his fifth ETC/WTC. He was in the team last year as well, uh, playing many armies. Extreme level of diligence. This year, his prep was just on another level. I feel like, even though he has a family and stuff, his level of prep this year was unparalleled. He was also the person who came up with the fucking Land Raider list, which when I saw the first time thrown around in our Discord chats, I was like, why the fuck are we trolling, guys? And then
Mm,
after 5 games, I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So that can only tell you how much time he also spends just thinking about the game and actually going through codexes and thinking how can he improve or eke out an edge on the opponent. Yeah,
right.
extreme amounts of experience also goes into it because he's been playing the game for fucking like 20 years or something.
Hmm.
It still amazes me that he's like 35, and I keep hearing stories from back when I was fucking 6 or something,
Yep.
from him playing the game or winning tournaments. Yeah, just a gem. Also, in the running for the most handsome in the team this year after Vishnu has left. He's left the spot for Leshy to go for that spot.
Right, and I heard and saw that his list actually inspired some actual 40k celebrities to do something similar.
I think so. Yeah, I think I saw John Lennon playing to Redeemers at stream at our war. By the way, talked about that very list at Bar Popular after the event. Just
No
saying.
wonder.
Um, yeah, he's also Leshu rolls like fucking shit. I mean, in the in the good way. I roll like shit at the bad way. He rolls like shit at the good way. He
I
just
saw
is.
that. I was at the
He
table when he was
has.
spending money, and Mani's Wraith Knight was shooting into his whatever they're called, his knights or something. And Mani maybe did 2 wounds with the entire Wraith Knight because Leshu's rolls
Yeah,
were so insane.
I saw two of these do 0 damage to the Land Raider. By the way, just out there. Um, so
Yeah,
here we are. Here we are. Okay, let's move on to another person because it's gonna take a year otherwise.
yeah. Who's out? Who's
Let's
else
go with
out there?
Crazy, a teammate of mine from my local team, a player who basically introduced me to 40k as I know it on a competitive level. A person who took me under his wing when I was going to my first Polish Polish GTs and stuff. A person who taught me so much about how to actually build the macro plan for the game on the very table. A person who I myself co-captained the team to give us first the second and then the first place at Polish Team Championships, which was a big goal. It was one of the reasons that I got so invested in teams format and got so into it that I am now fucking just only playing in teams and singles are irrelevant to me for some reason. Uh, a person who also, because he was around, taught me to manage the team as a whole. So even in the 5v5 formats in my local team, and also winning the Polish Team Championship and showing our skill was how I got even asked to be the selector of the team. So a huge influence on me. Also a veteran of the scene. He's been to many, 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 many events. This was his actually first time on the national team, but he was at the mercenary team in a year that has passed, and I don't know the year of. But he used to be playing at WTC at the mercenary team. Hmm. Here's an Necron's Enjoyer, also incredibly versatile player. The person who was basically thrown onto the 8th Army this year because of his last year. By the way, he was that's also worth mentioning. He was selected for the last national team that went to Belgium. He was supposed to be playing the Drukhari in that team, and literally Wednesday before we left, fell to coronavirus and was completely unable to attend. And Typhus had to take his spot. So I'm so fucking glad he made it this year, back in form and smashed it. Yeah, he was playing the Tau, basically the last choice, the army that we were very much unsure about. Um, because of his versatility, we were still able to do it. He was able to give the practice games in and actually switch armies from playing fucking world leaders last year, CSM, Chaos Demons on the way there, some Necrons still, just switching armies left and right to whatever the team needs. Incredibly versatile.
Yeah, adaptability at its best.
Exactly. Uh, how many have been done? Let's do
Wait,
the Myson.
so we
It
have.
was Ghetto, it
I
was
mean, yeah.
Leshu. It was crazy. I'm leaving the Skark for last
Okay.
because
Wait, let me
uh, I
yourself.
don't know this guy.
Obviously,
He's a fucking scam. It's not me.
do that, my
I'm
son.
forgetting anybody. I'm forgetting Victor. Let's go, Victor. I've already talked about Victor. About the fact that he's been playing 40k for fucking 2 years. He's already won the Polish National League the first year in his uh, uh, competitive play. He, as I've said, attended so many international events this year. He's played at Alpine, getting absolutely pounded by Anthony Vanilla and his good rolling. He's been played at IGT with me, getting absolutely pounded by Manny and his Dark Angels. And now he's back, smashing left, right, and center. And that's just, I think, he's the epitome of progress in the team. as we have many veterans in the team, but he's the newest guy and also the guy who, as I've said, improved the most. And I think he literally shows you how much you can achieve if you put enough time and dedication into this game. It requires a lot of sacrifices, but it's literally possible, and he's the epitome of that.
I think that's it.
I
But
think that's it.
this isn't
Only
this
me
isn't the
and
entire
Scarlet.
team, right? This isn't.
Excuse
Oh
me?
yeah, well, we can talk about Skark for a moment. Although he has a dedicated episode for 2 hours and 20 minutes, so not too long.
All right. I'm just going to explain things from my perspective.
Hmm.
Skark is the player that we have chosen uh, because of two things. Because of his experience and like um, I will draw your attention to the fact that I'm not mentioning the skill because we have very many skilled players, and I'm not trying to take Skark any fucking credit for his incredible amounts of skill. But the main two reasons that we've picked Skark is his experience at this type of event, which is massive when you have no new people around, people who haven't attended this match, and his lack of ego. I think there is no other player who has this amount of fucking just um weight or like behind him, this amount of grandeur, experience, skill, notability, literally recognized by every single team that we've played against instantly. And this player has basically no ego at the table and at the players table. This man will come up to you. Um, the great story to back that up is last year's first round actually against Belgium when he fumbled the bag. He picked the wrong table against his Blood Angels matchup against Arne. This is how we scored a draw instead of a win.
Hmm.
So after that game, Skark straight up went to the pairings table and said, "All right, I fucked this up. I'm not picking tables for myself anymore. I'm not good at. Apparently, I haven't tested enough. I don't know well enough. You do that for me. That's it." And we're like, "Okay, that's fair. Let's fucking smash it."
And you
This
did.
is this requires incredible amounts of I don't know you like integrity. I think is the best.
Integrity. But he's a very humble player as well. I think that's the word
Exactly.
we might be looking for.
He's incredibly humble. Um, he knows that he is also able to fuck up all the time, and everybody does this. So just this kind of player who will never crumble under any pressure, who can be the anchor for the team when something goes wrong, was just our best option, and this is exactly why we have chosen him. Not
Hmm.
because like of his skill or even his list building, all of which are absolutely amazing. And he has shown that so hard, like this year, especially when you look at the tables. But for me, as a person who built the team, who selected the team, these two aspects, like all above, um, head and beyond the rest. Is he's just so valuable for the team captain, for the team, for the pairing stable.
Hmm. Okay, so that was the team that was playing, but there were also people that were not playing that were crucial to the success of the team. So maybe you can talk
Yeah.
briefly about them.
I would definitely do that because the number one reason why we won this year and why we have not won last year is the coach team. Straight up. I've said that multiple times to them already, and I think it's 100% the case. Last year, as you know, we had the situation where Typhus, instead of being a non-playing captain, had to be playing as one of our as our Dark Elder player,
Hmm.
and this meant our staff, our coach team, so to say, our non-playing captain, was significantly reduced in like their possibilities to actually do their job, and it was super visible. and it was especially visible right after, just off the beat of the first game this year. The amount of works that they've done, and let's mention them all. It's Ebert, our head coach, who has been gathering all the data from all the fucking games. Basically, when I needed to go and like think about pairings, uh, all I needed to do is open the fucking table, and I'm gonna have all the lists, literally a matrix of all the scores from all the fucking games that the other team has played across the whole event, with every single list they've played against linked immediately. That was incredible. It like reduced our time to needed to prep for each single matchup in half, if not more. Um, he had so much knowledge. He delegated other people to scout for what we are for things that we didn't know or didn't test against. Um, just insane amounts of work. He also yeah. So let's move to other people. Then we had Kruker, who was our backup player because we learned and would
Draw
not want to
conclusions.
get caught off guard
Hmm.
um,
Again.
again by anybody coming down with illness or anything of the sort. So he was the player who we extensively tested against, who needed to track all of our fucking crazy ideas and be at least very familiar with them because he has no idea if he's gonna play and what list he's gonna play. He also was the person that made it the furthest in the actual team selection last year, right? So he was very experienced. He was very good. He was just on the verge on getting into the team. And because of that, he also was our spy. He was the dedicated spy for us to go and watch the games that we don't have any clue how the particular list plays. I really think it's trash. And of course, it's not trash. It's fucking WTC. Come on, guys. Let's not troll. So his job was to go to certain tables, watch the games, and then relay that information to us. And he has done that perfectly. He had many talks with particular players about. All right, so I have no fucking idea what's happening here. Kruger, have you seen it played, or could you explain that to me? And he's done so fucking well at that.
And he even
So
played some mind games with Jack Harkster, I think.
yeah, some might have happened when he was just literally lying the whole fucking crowd of coaches to troll the fuck out of Jack, just playing his gray nuts in the corner of the hall.
Yep.
Um, Another person was Max. He was at the event. He was.
You with
Look,
the best comment.
I kept the job of actually bringing the spear anywhere was not relayed with me when I received the spear from Liam Hackett, who actually broke the spear. I want to make it very much fucking just a straight up call out. I did not break it. I received it in the state that you have seen it. And also, I had no fucking idea I had to bring it anywhere because he didn't tell me. Um, back to the topic.
Unbelievable. Back to the topic.
I've lost track. All right, that was Max. Max, who is the self-named golden retriever of the team, our emotional support, the person who literally had the dedicated task of coming to me on smoke breaks because he was pretty much the only person that smokes besides me in the team. A person who I had multiple talks with after the games about literally how we feel. And he has done multiple of these across the whole team, from what I know. So he was literally our emotional support dog. Something that's incredibly fucking valuable at such an event when you have to keep your try to keep your head cool, and it's not easy, guys. It really is not. Um, so that kind of role. He also, of course, did all of the coaches' duties. So literally bring in water. I know it's being talked over and over again, but people keeping you fucking hydrated keep you winning. Is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
it's
you
true.
can laugh all you want, but even Team USA had coaches bring them like those little towel bands because
Yeah,
I think you
exactly.
could
The
like
fucking
wrap
wet
them on your head.
towel.
Yeah, wet towels with
Legitimately.
for refreshment and
You
so
are
on.
playing 7. Some of the people who were mad enough to attend Warhammer Registers, 14 fucking games of Warhammer at the highest level across like a week almost. You need to keep your physical good. Otherwise, you are going to crumble.
Hmm.
And he has done plenty of work there. He also was a dedicated GSC model handler for Myson, because playing GSC is basically playing with infinite amounts of models. So he was literally responsible some of the time for handling all the dead units and making them units again, which is a little bit crazy, but I think it worked perfect. From people who have help from Poland is Błażej the Bakłażan, which is good luck fucking everyone outside of Poland trying to pronounce that.
Pronouncing that.
Um, he was supposed to come with us. Unfortunately, his wife had some troubles and needed to go to the hospital. So, of course, he stayed with her. So he was unable to attend, but he helped immensely from Poland, helping Everett gather all the data. Along with him from Poland, just a quick shout. I think it was Zhu, also good fucking luck, helping him from here. I think it was also Furas who
Hmm.
helped him. Um, I'm very sorry if I'm skipping anybody. Um, but I think these were the people that helped Everett basically gather all the data, analyze the data, find something that we need to take care of if we are not familiar with the list of, or especially, which was very crucial, like consult those wins of some of the armies that we have estimated. And if their actual scores just completely misalign with our tables, right? So you had situations like, okay, that Blood Angel list from Spain is
That's my
fucking
first thought.
Castelli's up,
Yeah.
right? They are just murdering Castelli's left and center. We have it as a green. Is it a green? Let's analyze that. It wasn't a green. It was an orange. We knew that from the very start when we paired that matchup. It actually turned out to be on the stream and it was played, but we knew what to expect from it, right? We also knew that Victor was not supposed to actually win that, so he needed to play defensively. Imagine if he just had a green there and pushed into this and literally died and crumbled and scored a
And
zero instead of a 7.
bounced back. Yeah.
Huge, huge fucking swing, right? Just
Hmm.
from our information gathering, from analyzing from those beautiful guys from here. So, huge part. So, as I've said, I think the biggest difference this year have been the coaching team. This is what we were missing last year, in my opinion, to actually bring it home.
Hmm.
I think the situation with, for example, Eric's GSC would have never happened this year. I think this is the biggest development from last year is how good our coaching team was and how they just smashed it.
And probably the
And this
biggest
is
piece of advice to anyone else going to the WTC in the future year is bring extra staff, bring scouts, bring people who can not only support you, but who can also like roam the room and actually figure out what specific people do, how they
yeah,
play
of
armies,
course,
etc.
it's difficult, and we know it ourselves. Like right, last year we weren't unable to bring many extra staff as well. There was Danny and Misha who did amazing jobs, but they were not especially like dedicated and prepared to do a role that Typhus was supposed to be doing, right? He was supposed to be the person who's basically whose role this year during the event Everett was doing, right? He was supposed to be the head coach, the non-playing captain, the person responsible for data for gathering that, for analyzing that, and they have just not been prepared for that. And this year made all the difference. Also, just to every single team, because as I've said, bringing people in from to Belgium is massively difficult. It's expensive for many teams. Many teams would just be able to do it, but try to find someone from actually your country who can do that remotely to gather data for you, for example, just from BCP. to do the stuff that people from our country, literally here from Poland, have been doing. I think it's massive and it's actually viable for every single team almost. To scan the pairings, look at the list that you are unsure what they do, track their win record, what they are playing against, how they are being paired, track their scores, then consult them with your actual table. If you have that data on you, because trust me, if you have so many fucking lists and so many games ahead of you, you are not going to have time to look at BCP and deal with that fucking mess, trying to find every single score and refreshing it and stuff. If you have someone doing that from back home, I think it makes all the difference.
Yeah. So that's a fantastic way to maybe summarize it. And since we are slowly running out of time for this part, as I mentioned, there's going to be a second part for patrons that we are going to upload to Patreon when it's done. But let's leave room for just three questions that I got from one of our listeners, the friend of the podcast, I guess, friend Pumba as well. So Dick from Team Netherlands, who actually
Yep.
wanted to ask you three questions, and I think we will conclude with that. So the first one is, Pumba, will you be the captain of the team for next year?
Not sure yet. I've got time to relax. I've got time to think about it. No definite answer for now.
Yeah, a lot of things can happen still. So that let's leave that one open. What's your favorite in-game moment of this WTC?
My favorite in-game moment from WTC. I need to decide okay, like between the two. All right, I will just mention two. First one is because I love it because it's literally on the stream. It's already been made into a GIF of my Magnus being on three wounds and Lucas rolling his knob from the unit, scoring 10 hits from 5 attacks, then rolling 3 5-ups to wound me. And my Magnus being on three wounds again, -1 AP. And me, one by one, because I need to like check out if I want to use stratagems and stuff, rerolls blanks, rolling three ones, one by one, into that goddamn dice tray. And my Magnus literally fucking rolling over and dying. Beautiful. It's already been made into a GIF. I love it so much. I love the moment also because I was just like, that's so perfect. Like I might legitimately, yeah, that was amazing. And the second one is probably against the Spanish when my Magnus just lost 8 wounds from a single basilisk. Hashtag average, hashtag skill issue. That was also great.
Okay. All right. And the last one from Dick, and we will probably close out with this one. How scared were you about the van breaking down? So, to all those who don't know, Skark has his Skark bus, so like a camper van that he drives to all the events. We talk more about it with Skark in his episode, but the van was transporting at least three people that were going to the WTC and at least three armies, if not more, because they wouldn't want to
A
put them on the
total of
plane.
7 armies.
Seven armies.
A total
Jesus.
of 7 armies. Some of them for Team Croatia, some of them for Team Latvia, for example.
Right. So, how did that? I mean, was that stressful, and did that somehow impact? I don't know, your mental state, the team's mental state before the event.
So, yes, I had my butthole clenched all the way to Belgium. Uh, you can ask anybody in the car that I was traveling with because ours didn't broke down. So it went from okay. So they've posted a funny picture of them on the side of the road. So it's probably nothing. Haha. Then the situation starts to develop, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, holy fuck.
You're
Um,
not joking.
yeah, I was stressed. The good thing about it that reduced my over like worriness was the fact that we had so much time to spare. Like legitimately, we were all traveling Tuesday, at least starting Tuesday,
Hmm.
and their car broke down in like uh, fucking morning of Wednesday, and
Hmm.
the games didn't begin until 5 p.m. Thursday. So we had plenty of time for them to do a lot of stuff, like get a train and anything. We can drive for them with our car, or anything, right? So there were options still. It's gonna be tough, but there are options. So I was definitely stressed, very stressed, but I also tried to keep it chill as I knew there's more than like at least 90% chance they are making it for the first game. And then there's like 10% chance we are just going to smash South Africa without some people and some armies. Let's go. That was also an option that we considered. Like legitimately, I started doing pioneers matrices with like fucking 6 armies, just so you know.
So,
And just going 2 zeros across like 2 armies because
hmm
they are not there. Um, yeah, so I was very much worried. Also, fucking enormous shout out to Team Germany because they figured it out. They made Skag actually and all of them come to the event with the enormous amount of help. Also, shout out Team Germany for being the literal fucking saviors of the whole event on multiple occasions. I've heard about David Gaylor's Deathwatch backpacks. There's the Skark story, so they were just massive. They've helped so many people this event to make it run smoothly and for them to there's everybody. So just a quick explanation. Team Germany basically contacted a guy that knew a guy, something, something. I don't know the back. Basically, I contacted Typhus, so who talked to Team Germany, who talked to them, to just a bit. They organized a car for Skark after he was broke down next to like in a small city next to Berlin for just a minimal price. Literally took them 2 hours to drive that car for him to the spot to pack his all armies and go to Belgium and then return it on the way back for minimal price. Literally driving fucking from Berlin to a small village outside of Berlin when Skype's car broke down. So legends, absolute fucking legends, made all the difference.
hats off to virtual hats off to
Exactly.
Germany. Yeah. All right. Listen, let's finish on this positive note because the time is pressing. So
Mhm.
as I wrote in the chat, everyone can see that we are uh, basically going to wrap this one up, part one. We are going to move on to part two, which we will record behind closed doors, so to say. So, and I will upload that to Patreon, so whoever is our patron can access that and see that, and so on. We will be discussing Pumba's Thousand Suns list, list archetypes for Thousand Suns, and how to play this army, and we will discuss Pumba's matchups as well. Um, so yeah, help if you want to help us out. If you like what we do, then please go to our Patreon and help us, like and subscribe, and so on and so on. And yeah, look out forward to upcoming episodes because we're going to be talking to more Team Poland members. And as I mentioned already, but I mentioned it again, the episode with Skark is recorded already. The Polish community has already received access to that because it's in Polish. But then I need to translate, transcribe, and re-record and do a voiceover on the recording that we have. So it will probably consume a little bit of time. So expect it somewhere around midweek next week. It will drop on our YouTube channel, on all the podcasting media, and so on. So yeah, watch this space. With that in mind, thank you everyone. You'll hear from us soon, and then watch our Patreon for this special extra little feature. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Pumba. Speak to you
Thank
soon.
you very much. Yep. Bye, everybody.